Hello, my name is Dave Walker, and what I'm going to do over the next little while is give you a little bit of background on myself. So, if any of you are planning on spending some time with me in some working sessions or in some coaching sessions, and you want to know a little bit more about me, what I've been up to the last 54 or plus years, I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a resume here. That's a long time, so you might want to grab a beer or a glass of wine or a tea while you listen to this. So I was born on January 22nd, 1965. And when I popped out, I don't know if they're using the blue toques or in pink toques, but I got a blue one. So I am a dude. I'm from the planet Mars. For those of you who know, the men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I was supposed to be a very creative and curious child, like most children are in those days. And then I started going off to school. So I went into kindergarten and primary school and high school, and after that, university. I think a friend of mine sent me this. I don't know what this is called, a poem or whatever. I think this explains a little bit what I was up to during those times. I was, and I quote here, buried under cultural conditioning, other people's opinions, and inaccurate conclusions that I drew as a kid that became my beliefs about who I was. So that's what I was up to before I got to university. And then I got to my university stage. So I did my undergraduate degree. I graduated, for those of you who are doing undergrad right now, I graduated 30 years ago. So I got my Bachelor of Administration degree. I did it part-time. So I was, when I left the nest, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I was doing my undergrad at the same time. They say people these days will change not just jobs but careers 5 times. I think I changed careers 5 times during my undergrad. And then I thought, you know what, time to go back to school full time. So I went back to do my MBA and my accounting designation. So MBA CPA, did a couple years of that, and then when I graduated, it was time to catch up to my friends who all had houses and, careers and the whole bit. So I jumped on the career path, and over 15 years, I was with the largest professional services firm in the world. So for 15 years, I moved up in that organization. So for those of you who don't know who it is, you can Google it or just look at my Facebook. You'll see who I worked for. I worked for Deloitte. So started off in their advisory practice and worked myself up to senior manager. Hit a speed bump along the way. So after 15 years, I realized that I didn't realize, but I wasn't in the place that I wanted to be. Because I remember I didn't really know who I was at that point in time because I was going so fast. So anyhow, hit a speed bump, as I like to refer to it. I was a clinically depressed, isolated, functioning alcoholic who had basically, and obese as well. So I was eating a lot of comfort food and drinking a lot of comfort booze. So anyhow, I wrote a book about that whole story. Apparently, I'm not the only one who kind of goes that route, but I was able to get back on my feet and continue moving on in a different role at Deloitte, where I spent 5 years as the program director for some of their more strategic leadership and professional development programs, both nationally and globally. So I got to see a lot of different people from a lot of different cultures and learn a lot of different things. So it was quite the, I think that was my schooling during those 20 years out in the workplace. So after when I was coming up on my 20-year anniversary, I decided to take a look and see, what's next for Dave. After 15 years, I didn't end up in a very good place. This time I figured, I'm going to use a very different approach to figure out where am I going moving forward. So spent a lot of time figuring out what I wanted to do, and then ended up doing something I had no idea I was going to do. I decided to become a elderpreneur. So at 50 years of age, elderpreneur is, I created that, I think. I'll have to Google it, see if it exists. I became an entrepreneur for the first time past the age of 50. I was a single parent at the time as well, had never run a business of my own, but for some reason that seemed to be the right thing to do. So here I am 3 years later. I am a elderpreneur. My service offerings were ones I'd never done before, or most of them anyhow. So coaching, which it took me a year and a half to figure out that it was the opposite of what I was doing before. We're not giving advice. We're trying to help people come up with their own solutions. Takes longer. That's why it's not one of the more popular leadership styles. But I find it to be very effective. It worked with me. So the coaching, the storytelling. So again, I'm a storyteller. Like I don't remember taking a course in that at university. So I've been trying to figure that one out. So I wrote a book. So writing my book was one of the ways I do stories. I've gaining the courage to go out there and share blogs and get out there in the social media. Remember, I'm 54. Answering my iPhone is a challenge. So here I am doing Instagrams and Facebook and sharing videos and putting the videos together here. So that in a nutshell is kind of who I am and the background. I have put together it was a bookmark at one point in time. Now it's kind of like my business card. So I'm trying to figure out like who I am. It took me a while actually. When I hit the speed bump, part of it was kind of coming back and going back and figuring out who I was. I kind of got lost along the way. Or as this poem thing says, it's not really finding yourself. You never really got lost because you were always already there. It was more returning to yourself. So now with my offerings and everything, it's basically, my modus operandi now is be you. So find out who you are. If that means returning to yourself, be you. Take care of you. I didn't take care of myself for a long time, and a lot of other people haven't either. And then play to your you. So the working sessions, play to your you, is remembering who you are as a unique individual, and continuing to move forward despite what society's telling you, despite what other people are saying, even though they're well-meaning. It really is, who are you and what are you about? So I'm excited to connect with you and get to meet you, get to meet who you are, and help you move forward in the way that's best for you, the unique you, the authentic you. Cheers.